Hello, my wonderful friends, yogis and karatika. As we enter this next week of pandemic and changes of many different kinds, some of you have been caught out. It comes to light for many of us that this is kind of, in a way, business as usual, and we've made some changes to how we communicate with each other and class time, etc. Somebody said instead of saying social distancing, we should be talking about physical distancing and social solidarity. I really appreciate that. That's from one of you. Thank you so much for that. So what I'm talking about is individual, daily, at-home practice. Not everybody's doing that. Us, apparently. And you can get away with it. It's a free country, as I said in the previous video. And if you're not practicing at home and you've been relying on class time, now classes are done for a while. So now what are you left with? The rest of us practice at home every day, and as I explained in my last video, it's a thing, and it's kind of the point. That's what we're doing here. So this is an opportunity for those of you who haven't been doing that. I highly recommend, I challenge you to take it on. Maybe give yourself some sort of limited commitment. Maybe you're not ready to say, okay, this is just what I do now. Many of us have done that and have made that decision, in some cases decades ago, that this is just what we do. That it's a lifelong practice, and we're grateful for it, and this is just what we do. For you, maybe you're going to do this practice according to the 6 and 5 day rotation. I'll keep track for you of the moon days. You decide what day is going to be your weekly day off. We have a moon day coming up, I think on Tuesday coming up, something like that. But I'll let you know. And just decide that, okay, for the next week or the next 2 weeks, that you're going to do the practice as it's meant to be done. So this is part of a bigger picture. You're certainly, I guarantee it, you're going to find that you get much more benefit from doing this practice yourself personally. And that's the first part of our sort of slogan on our, you'll see on our website and other things where we say growth, community, mastery. And the next part of that is community, and you're not doing your practice alone. You're part of a group of people that does a practice, and a very large community, and an ancient community that goes way back. There's been people working like this for a long time. So you're not the first, and I question why you might not be doing a practice in the first place. That's the essential teaching you get on day one with any of this stuff. And it may be because of your unique conditions or your unique qualities. And I'd like to suggest to you that we're all unique, and the practices are designed with that uniqueness in mind. You are not more unique than the rest of us. There really isn't anyone that I'm aware of that if you can come to a class, you can maintain a daily practice. And so the second part of that, as I said, is there's growth, which you will experience if you actually follow the directions. And the second part is community, and you actually contribute to the community by participating. So with that solid foundation of your at-home practice, you can now participate in some of this online work we're doing, some of the exchanges we're doing. So for example, Jennifer's been putting out yoga videos on specific poses and saying, videotape yourself in your morning practice and send it along, and we'll all look at it, and she'll give some critique and make observations, and everybody will grow and benefit from that exchange. And we'll all grow in a less specific way. We'll learn specific things about those poses, of course, but we'll also just feel that, okay, we're all in the same boat. We're all doing this same work together, so there's a sense of community. And then mastery comes, supposedly, and that's a big topic. But when we say growth, community, mastery, you can't get to mastery without the daily practice, without the growth part. You have to be cultivating your own growth. You have to be, watering that plant every day, or it will die, or it will never really blossom, right? And you can't do that growth outside of the context of community. That's something that not everybody gets. Some people think, oh, I'm a maverick. I do things my own way. I'm going to go off into a cave in the mountains and do my own work. No, you're not. You're not going to do that kind of isolated work until you've established yourself as a part of a community. And at a certain point, there's a kind of independence. It isn't genuine independence. It's simply that I don't need the physical contact with my community, the literal contact, because I'm so embedded in community that I can literally go off and work in a cave and still be part of that community, still be doing my work, not just for me, but for the entire community. There's no way to mastery without that. And so there's levels of mastery, and there's degrees of masteries, and it's pretty open-ended. But there's a point at which you say, okay, you're a low-level junior master. And so what does that mean? It means that you've reached a certain level of competence where there's no single part of the practice that's just like not possible for you. So whatever talent or potential you might have, or whatever lack of talent or potential you might have, you get to a certain point where your daily cultivation and the support of your community has brought you to the place now where you're kind of a model for the rest of us. And that's a tremendous contribution. So you make a tremendous contribution by doing your daily practice, and as part of that whole process. So there's another three-part structure you can think about. Honor the teaching, capital T teaching, honor the teaching, honor each other, and honor yourself. And so all of those things are accomplished by the daily practice. So if you do that, if you decide, okay, I'm going to accept the 14-day challenge, get on your yoga mat, do your standing, do your sanchins, whatever aspect or part of the practice you're working with, if you're a yogi or a karatika or both, whatever you're doing, do your practice. And if you're like just about everybody else, you're going to have things to report. You'll report that, wow, I feel a lot better. That there's just something fulfilling about that constant connection to this work. Even if it's simply that I just kind of reduce my internal chatter for a few minutes every morning, that feels really good. There's a physicality, obviously, in this work that's very beneficial, but it's meant to be done on a more or less daily basis by that, that 5 and 6 day a week schedule. And there's a whole lot more that happens when you do that. And so you'll feel certain benefits right away. And lots of people in the beginning stages report that, they missed a day and they really noticed it. It's just like, it really is good. I'm kind of glad I missed that day, because then I could see how beneficial this is for me, and I really missed it when I didn't do it. And if you're on a schedule of 2 or 3 times a week, well, then you don't know what we're talking about. So give it a try, see what happens. You might find yourself being stronger. You might find your posture improving. You might find yourself just kind of mentally relaxing a little bit and feeling a little bit happier. Who knows? It's different for different people. That's where the unique part comes in. The unique part is not, I don't need to practice, or practice doesn't work for me. I mean, it's the teacher's greatest disappointment when you have students who don't practice. Not that you're doing it for me, or for whoever your teacher is, but because practice works. And it's sometimes fun. Like, I'm also a music teacher. Jennifer and I both teach music. And sometimes you get a very talented student, and if they do what we say, they do really well. And that can be fun. It's kind of exciting to say, wow, it's amazing how much ground they've covered in a short time, because they have this natural ability and this natural affinity. But I can tell you, for me at least, it's more fun when you get people that really don't have a particular knack for this, but they do what we say. They do the practice, they practice every day, and they practice the way we suggest. And by, doggone it, they get pretty darn good. I mean, they get really good. Sometimes they pass by the talented people who don't practice, and oftentimes those people too really value what they've learned. More so sometimes the people who just have all this sort of God-given talent, and they can just do things and it's easy, and then they move on to the next thing. And sometimes it isn't until they find something often like traditional martial arts or yoga or these kinds of practices where they realize, hey, my natural talent doesn't actually get me there, that I actually do need to do this practice the way it's as instructed for it to work for me. So this is a message to those people who do not have a daily practice. Give it a try. Give it a try. Engage. It's a challenge. I recommend it. And then, I think a 2 week span is fair enough. There's a certain process you'll go through. As I said, you'll probably notice a lot of benefits right from the top. And for those of us who've been doing this for decades, we can report that some of that will continue. You'll also run into time when the novelty wears off and it's sort of not so fun anymore. And there's some challenges around that. I got a timer dinging. If you mind me carrying you into the kitchen. You'll notice the novelty wears off. That's okay. Depending on your personality and your ability to deal with that, that'll either be a big impediment for you, or it won't be, depending on what kind of natural discipline you have. But if there's something there that you need to do and you determine to work through it, you can figure it out. You can also end up with injuries and sorenesses of various kinds. Sometimes that don't go away. Sometimes people tear things and it can take 6 months or a year to really heal, and so the practice is uncomfortable, but you do it anyways, and then that heals, and you start to notice, like, Jen recently took a fall, and somebody her age who takes a fall like that, she hit pretty hard on the hard ice. She's still doing her practice and she's recovering really fast. And so, she doesn't really feel that she's like moved forward significantly, like where she can do poses now that she couldn't do 6 months ago. She's been practicing for 20 years. So her body is pretty much probably where it's going to be. But she's developed tremendous resilience and strength and bounce back ability. It's fantastic, right? That's a real gift. And she practices with the injury and she works around it as best she can. And it's been like 3 days and she's pretty much at 85, 90% now. It's kind of awesome. And then you get to a point of that point of like diminishing returns where you feel like, well, this isn't really doing that much for me. You might actually find a sort of a resistance to that discipline, and maybe that's what you're experiencing right now. I certainly personally struggle with that a lot. Just the whole, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. I get up in the morning. I don't want to do that. That's the last thing I want to do. I want to have another cup of coffee. I've got some project that I'm working on, maybe a music project, maybe I'm writing a piece or something, and I really want to get to it. Do I want to spend the next hour and a half doing the practices that I do? No, I don't. And I developed all kinds of strategies around that. I would say things to myself, okay, well, I only have to do the minimum practice. I'll just do the sun salutations and 3 sunsins, and check, I'm done. And then if I feel like doing more, I will do it. And those kind of strategies might be good for you. But what's happened to me? I've just left that entire struggle, the whole thing, as a unit. I've just dropped it and just relaxed. And I look at it now, not to be insulting to anybody who's going through it. I went through it. But I look at it now, it's just a bunch of adolescent drama, really. And it's kind of like the adolescent boy who doesn't want to brush his teeth and he doesn't want to take a shower and he resists getting enough sleep. He's dragging himself around because he's stayed up all night on playing a video game or something, and he had to get to go to school, and he's really not functioning at a very high level because he refuses to get enough sleep. There's no value in winning these arguments. He's not arguing for his best interests here, and that's how I started to see my practice and my resistance to my practice and my strategies to try to overcome my resistance. I just thought, come on, get over it. That's what I said to myself. And speaking of hygiene, that's more or less how I look at it now. These practices are mental and physical hygiene. Like, there's no reason to not do it. And you're going to feel better if you do. And you're subjecting yourself to discomfort, disease, and a lack of social solidarity if you don't practice good hygiene. And that's what these practices are for me now. That's how I kind of look at them. And I like brushing my teeth, and I really like how I feel in and after a shower. And I like getting enough sleep. It feels great. I got enough sleep last night. The night before I didn't. And tonight, yesterday I did. I feel great. This is way better. I could watch one more, I could do one more binge episode on Netflix, but I'd rather go to sleep and feel good the next day. You know what I mean? So for me, it's a kind of maturity, very late coming. But I recommend it. It sometimes feels like we're letting go or losing something when we take a step forward in our maturity. And it's always a gain. It's always a release. You know, what a relief to let go of that struggle and any other struggle that we might associate with, you know, a lack of maturity. So I'd recommend stepping it up, discipline yourself, have your coffee, get on your yoga mat or on your floor. You don't need a yoga mat. You don't need any equipment to do this. You just need your body and carving out that little bit of time and for it to be done on a consistent basis. And as I said, please join the community. Send Jen and I your videos, and especially the ones, you know, the weekly videos, so we can work with you individually and keep your practice moving forward. You need that input. It's not good enough just to do what you've always done the way you've always done it. You need input, otherwise it's like a shark, you know, if they're not moving forward, they're going to die. Your practice needs to be moving forward. It needs a stimulation of instruction. That's part and parcel of this whole arrangement. And you need to connect to the greater community that's supporting your practice, and that's our community. So send your videos that we can share, and Jen and I will do our comments, and we'll create a community during this physical distancing time. Let's maintain social solidarity, as one of you pointed out, even as we're physically distancing. So good luck with your practice, and please send me any questions or comments, or to Jen that occur to you that come up, and we're going to do our best for you. Namaste. Thank you.